Right, having correctly set the arm height, we now need to accurately position the cartridge, and for that we need to use a protractor. There are various ones on the market. Some use 2 points, some actually measure the distortion at a range of points across the record, but my favourite variety uses 1 point but with a beam which measures the pivot point of the arm, and that's how I will show you we set this one up. So position the protractor over the spindle of the turntable and making sure that this point is over the pivot point of the arm, and then what we do is just move this over the cross point on the protractor and lower the stylus to see where we're sitting. Now on this particular variety of gauge, the thickness is manufactured to be the same thickness as a record. So a thinner paper gauge you'd have to use it on top of a record to make sure that you have the arm height accurately set. Now I can see here, looking down from above, that we need to move the cartridge back and anti-clockwise. About the right position, just very loosely set that. Now depending on how good your eyesight is, you may need to use a magnifying glass, or you may have the eyes of a hawk and be able to do this unaided. So lower the cartridge onto the alignment gauge with the stylus exactly in the middle of the crosshairs, cross mark. And then looking from the front and above, down onto the crosshairs of the alignment gauge, make sure that the cartridge is exactly in line with the lines printed on the gauge. Now, in fact, what you're trying to align is the cantilever, which is the bar that comes out of the cartridge holding the stylus. That's more critical than the cartridge body, and often a magnifying glass, unless you have eyes of a hawk, will help you achieve this. And that looks pretty good to me. Right, so having correctly aligned the cartridge laterally in the tone arm, what we do is remove the alignment gauge. Now, having readjusted the position of the cartridge slightly, the tracking force, the down force, will have changed because we moved the cartridge back very, very slightly. So we need to now readjust that to its final position, and this time we want to do it accurately. Having finally adjusted the position of the cartridge, obviously we need to now double check the tracking force, because having moved the cartridge, the down force will have moved and we may need to readjust. So this says 2.25. I'll just finally adjust that to get it to the 2.2 that this particular cartridge needs to be at. So a very slight movement on the counterweight. A little more. That's fine. I'll just readjust. It won't be much. The next thing to adjust is the azimuth of the cartridge. This is, when viewed from the front, this is the vertical orientation of the cartridge. It needs to be absolutely perpendicular to the record surface. Now, most arms this is factory set, and therefore it won't be a problem, won't be something you need to adjust, but you should check for it anyway. And the easiest way of doing that is to place a mirror on the turntable, lower the cartridge so the needle is touching the surface of the mirror, and then look at it carefully from the front. Again, a magnifying glass can help with this. And what you need to do is make sure that the cantilever is absolutely vertical. You can obviously see the reflection in the mirror, and thankfully in this case this is correct and vertical. If there is any slight error, then you would need to adjust, if your arm has an adjustment, of course. The clear audios do, and there is a small grub screw on the underside of the arm just behind the head shell. So what we'll do, we'll show you a quick close-up image of the front of the cartridge with the reflection in the mirror, so you can see that what we're looking for in the vertical position of the cartridge. Right, now we have the cartridge mounted vertically. It's azimuth, laterally, it's lateral tracking angle. The downforce has been accurately calibrated. The only other parameter to calibrate now is the anti-skating or bias. To check the bias, we need to get a record with a large lead-out groove area, and the record needs to, the turntable needs to be turning. So place your record on, set the turntable in motion. Due to arm geometry with pivoted arms, this doesn't occur in parallel trackers, but on pivoted arms, which most are, due to the arm geometry and the revolution of the record, there is a tendency for the arm to be pulled in towards the centre of the record. What we're doing is, with the bias adjustment, is we are putting a very, very slight force that pulls the arm outwards, the aim being to equalise the natural tendency for the arm to be sucked in, so that the stylus actually sits squarely in the middle of the groove with equal pressure on each wall. Enough bias, so as the needle lowers onto the blank portion of the record, it's sucked inwards until it hits the groove. This is with too much bias, where the as the needle lowers onto the blank disc, it's sucked outwards before reaching the groove. And this is about right, so that as the needle lowers onto the blank groove, it kind of hovers in one position before being picked up by the lead out groove.